is classifying the cost. Okay, so we can't say all the costs are like put together. If we add it, then it's like useless. Why it is useless is, see, for example, in a month, we'll put like this. In a month, what is your what is your uh, expenses? Okay, what is your expenses? If you tell in a month my total expenses is 20,000. Okay, my family expenses 20,000. This is totally like what to say, this is like totally difficult to find out where your cost is going. Okay, where your money is going, we cannot find. Okay, if you tell in a month what is your expense means, if you tell like it is going to be 20,000, now we cannot find where is your 20,000 going. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to break it. Okay, so rent is 5,000. Okay, food is 5,000, travel, okay, travel to office 5,000. Okay, or we'll just put it as travel. Okay, travel is 5,000, and entertainment is 5,000. Okay, so this is how you are getting your total amount of 20,000. See, now you got a better idea, right? Now you got a better idea of how this 5,000 have come. But still, if you want to control, it's again difficult, because see, rent is 5,000. It's a singular amount. Okay, so you can't do anything about that. But food, you say 5,000 is food. How much of this 5,000, okay, is going to be internal and external? Okay, so how much of this 5,000 is going to be hotel? Okay, and these are provisions and expenses for cooking at home. Okay, if your from hotel you buy 3,000 and your provisions you buy only 2,000, this is a split. Okay, you got this split. See, now what you could do is you can have control. Okay, so this is your existing. You can now create a what to say, you can have a control here. Okay, how you will have control? See, you can have control like this. You want to reduce your expenditure to 15,000. Okay, and you want to save, okay, you want to save 5,000. Okay, rent you can't do anything, it's only 5,000. Okay, but hotel, stop eating at hotel, and you could save something like, you could reduce it to 1,000, right? You could reduce it to 1,000. As you are increasing the consumption at home, okay, it would be like additional something like maximum like 3,000 it will move. So your provision will go up because you are consuming more at home, and from hotel you are not buying a lot, so that price will go down. Next, you try to have to find out like how your travel cost is built. Okay, how is your travel cost built? Okay, so travel, we can put it in two manners. The one kind of travel is to the office. Okay, and the other travel is for personal reasons. Okay, personal reasons. So to office you travel and it costs you 4,000, and here it is costing you 1,000. So ask in your office whether they could bear this. Okay, or buy some kind of a monthly pass or something, so that this falls to something like 3,000. And try to cut your personal travel, so that would fall to something like 500. Okay, it falls to 500. So your total food cost would come to 4,000, and your total traveling would come to 3,500, and entertainment is 5,000. Okay, so assume that you are a person who goes to movies. Okay, why do you go to movies? Better going, rather than going to movies. Okay, so movies is 4,000 you spend, and 1,000 you spend it on something like malls or something. So now what you do, you can ensure that rather than going to movies, you buy Netflix connection. Okay, you can save something like 2,000 rupees would be Netflix connection. Going to mall, you try to reduce. Okay, you will save another 5,000. So how much does this come to? It comes to 2,500. So what is your total? See, your total, now you can add all this. We are trying to find out what is the total. See, the total comes to 15,000. So if you are able to control your cost in this manner, okay, if you are able to control your costs in this particular manner, okay, so this is your total cost. We'll put it here. Okay, this is the total cost. Okay, so hope you got the idea here. So rather than having a single amount, okay, when we started with what amount? We started with 20,000. Okay, but we started to find out this broad breakup. Okay, this broad breakup. Then we broken down each of these elements into a small sub element. Okay, so breaking them is not useful. Okay, breaking them and knowing the sub element is not useful. What is more useful is how are you going to control these costs. So we have a plan. This is how we are going to control it. Okay, and totally you want to reduce it to 15,000. So you want to save 5,000, right? You want to save 5,000. Now the question is how we are going to implement it. Okay, unless you implement this and do it on a regular disciplined basis, you will not save 5,000. Okay, because see, you have reduced your mall going to malls, you have reduced going to movies. Okay, you have reduced traveling for personal reasons, you are buying a monthly pass, your provision, you want to eat more at home. Okay, so this has to be acted upon. Okay, so if you don't act upon, then doing all this entire thing is just a waste of time. Okay, so why have we discussed about this? See, we discussed about this because of cost classification. Okay, we discussed this because of cost classification. See, cost can be divided on many bases, like how we divided here. Okay, we divided it on some kind of a manner. Okay, we could also divide it in some other manner. For example, as elements, as nature, as function, as behavior. Okay, so each of this classification of cost, okay, we'll see it in detail. So classification by element works like this. Assume that you are producing a smartphone. Okay, you have materials, so you have like components, and then you have labor, so you have like employees who are working in your company, and you have other expenses. Okay, so expenses are usually like something called as an other expenses. So expenses can be rent, or it could be machine expenses. Okay, machine maintenance expenses, like that. So these are the costs involved. So we can divide our costs based upon these elements: material, labor, and expenses. So thereafter we have another nature which is called as classification by nature, where the costs are divided not on these headings but on whether it's direct or indirect. So what is direct? Direct is any cost that is directly attributable to the final product. Okay, is a direct cost. Okay, we can have this kind of a definition, or we can also have any cost incurred for a, or any cost that can be traceable to a single unit. That is a direct cost. Okay, so assume that we produce a shirt, right? We produce a shirt. We can have, I think, any one of the definition. We'll remove this definition, we'll have this one. So we'll see like what could be the cost. So if we manufacture a shirt has some directly identifiable cost or traceable cost. For example, the shirt material, right? Or in terms of the cloth, shirt material is cloth, or you can find out the threads which is used, the buttons. Okay, all these are directly identifiable materials. Okay, you can also identify like who's like stitching. Okay, who's like stitching, or who's like directly involved in the creation of the shirt. The person who's like directly involved is a tailor. We can't like take the supervisor because he's not directly involved. We can't take the watchman, he's not directly involved. We can't take a CEO, again he's not directly involved. Only tailor is directly involved. Is that any specific cost attributable to that single product? Yes. The packaging box is a example. So these are traceable costs to a unit. Okay, so what is indirect? Indirect is nothing but an opposite. Any cost that cannot be traceable to a single unit is an indirect cost. So again, for shirt, which are the costs that we can't find? So like what we said, the CEO cost cannot be found, or the machine oil that we pour, that cannot be found because we cannot find the machine oil on the shirt. If we find it, I think that is like damaged shirt. Anything else you have? So the rent is not for a single product. The rent paid for the factory is for the entire factory only. So any admin expense spent, okay, or any advertisement, all these are not identifiable with a single product. It's for the benefit of all the products. It is this. So this can also be called, okay, all this indirect can also be called as overheads. Overheads is a cost which is incurred for the benefit of all products, okay, all the products in the factory. So that's about overheads. So we'll move on to the next one. So the next one is classification by function. So we have two things here. One is production and the other one is non-production. Okay, so any cost involved for production, okay, why do we need to find out this? Why do we need to divide a cost between production and non-production? See, the cost incurred up to production will be used to value your stock. So this value is what becomes the closing stock, and this is what again becomes the opening stock. Okay, so if you want to know like from where we are getting opening stock valuation and closing stock valuation, is the stock value, okay, up to the production cost, okay, that is what is our value for stock. We do not take the non-production cost into account. So non-production costs are usually every year considered as expense only. Every year it is considered as an expense. But when you value a stock, all this production cost can be leading to opening or closing stock, actually, which is an asset. Okay, opening stock and closing stocks are assets of a company. But non-production costs would be usually written off as expenses in a particular year. Okay, so what are the production costs here? So production cost could be I think material, right? You can have material, labor, and any in terms of shirt, the tailor cost, right? All these are production costs. What are non-production costs? See, non-production costs which are involved after the product has been produced. Okay, so the product is produced, it is stitched, it is put into a box, wrapped nicely and kept. From thereafter we have other expense like admin expense, we have selling expense, we have distribution expense. Okay, these expenses, etc., these expenses are non-production cost. So that's about function. So we'll move on to classification by behavior. Okay, so for classification by behavior we have a separate chapter next. Okay, so there we'll deal about the classification by behavior, but we'll just give an intro here. So variable cost is a cost incurred only when an additional unit is produced. So only when you produce an additional unit it is going to be involved. Okay, for example, if you produce one additional shirt, it is going to be rupees 100. Okay, that you can find. If you can find that, it's a variable cost. So what is a fixed cost? A cost incurred incurred irrespective of production. Okay, you produce or you don't produce, that doesn't matter, but this cost would be incurred. For example, you produced 0 shirts also. Okay, you produce 0 shirt, okay, or you produce 10,000 shirt. The rent that you pay for that factory is going to be the same. Okay, if it's same irrespective of how many units you produce, it is a fixed cost. Okay, what is stepped fixed cost and semi-variable cost, I think we can say later because it requires explanation, so we can see that later.